Before I get into the fall videos, I'm just gonna shove this clip from the summer in here because I don't have any other Railfanning compilations to put it in. Anyway, here's CN 5620 bringing a line of empty well cars westbound through the West Tappan Junction. I don't recall ever seeing a bare table train like this around Port Huron, so this was kinda odd. Alright, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this video. Michigan has two seasons, winter and construction, but for the sake of argument, it was autumn. My favorite season. Yellow, orange, and red leaves peppered the trees, the air was cool, and there was no annoying mosquitoes. Starting things off, I found a CN SD75I waiting just outside Tunnel Yard in Port Huron. The crew was waiting for this eastbound train to clear the main as it goes down to one track further west. This train is bound for somewhere in Canada via the St. Clair River Tunnel. Tunnel Yard is just up ahead, so they'll stop there, exchange the American crew for some Canadians either in Port Huron or Sarnia, pass a customs check, and get clearance to pass through the tunnel. I moved west to Dunlap Road where an anomaly of a signal resides. Throughout the mid to late 2010s, CN went about replacing the old Grand Trunk Western era searchlight and trilight signals with modern Vader designs. However, for whatever reason, CN kept the trilight design here. It's a new signal head but with LEDs. And here comes the train. It's always exciting seeing a locomotive headlight poke up and over the hill and wondering what's at the lead. In this case, it was SD75I number 5701, leading a lengthy train westbound into the setting sun. The next day, I set up in Marysville Park where you can see Detroit Edison 060 number 203. It was built in 1923 and donated to the city in '58 after working at DTE's Delray, Connors Creek, and Marysville power plants. Here I caught CSX L306 sauntering down the former Port Huron and Detroit Railroad line. This is a local train running between Flint and St. Clair using trackage rights over CN between Flint and Port Huron. It's known as the Foreign Flyer given how fast it runs on CN. I repositioned to Davis Road, which is the northern entrance to St. Clair Yard. A chassis system caboose lives here as a shoving platform. L306 slowly approaches its final destination. It's crazy to think at one point there would have been colorful Alcos running this line instead of the EMDs and big GEs that CSX now employs. Later on, I got lucky and happened to see a headlight at Griswold Road back in Port Huron. It was Lake State Railway 1501 bringing in 5 tankers on train Y505. Lake State acquired a lease on this industrial line from CN back in 2018. After throwing the Y switch, the conductor hops on board for a ride into Tunnel Yard. A handful of switching maneuvers later, 505 returns to home rails and reverses northeast with 4 tank cars bound for CDW Consulting. In the Grand Trunk Western days, this line was referred to as the Old Main, as it was the original main line for the Chicago, Detroit, and Canada Grand Trunk Junction Railroad built in 1859. You can learn more about that in this video I recently made. Just outside their home base, Lake State has to cross the Black River using this 1923 bascule bridge. After crossing, the conductor raises the bridge back up. In the winter, when there's no recreational boat traffic, the bridge stays lowered. Long ago, this river would have been full of floating logs as part of Michigan's lumber industry. 1501 returns to its home siding to tie down for the evening. If I turn the camera around, we can note that the line has seen better days. The only other industry north of here was Dunn Paper, but that closed down in November of 2022. Since then, nature has taken over and a makeshift derail has been put in place to prevent cars from rolling down the line. Not sure what the plans for the tracks are, but I'm sure they're going to get ripped up at some point. Exactly a month later, here we are in familiar settings. If you've been around my channel a while, you'll know that for the longest time this was my home turf when it came to railfanning. It's the Port Huron Amtrak station, and oh, hello random P42. Yeah, so number 57 was down with a bad brake shoe, but the blue water was still running as normal. It's unheard of to see Amtrak here in broad daylight unless something's gone wrong, so it's certainly a rare sight. Back to trains that were actually moving, here's CSX L306 running alongside 32nd Street with only 8 cars today. I followed them down to Marysville where the tracks parallel Busha Highway. Until 2014, Detroit Edison's decommissioned Marysville plant made up part of the landscape here. And at one point, there were 4 tracks here to serve Morton Salt, whose property is now taken up by the Blue Water Aggregates Company. Thank you to my channel members. Special thanks to Mooter, Tommy Rosini, Grand Canyon Studios, Amtrak Fan 19, Gojira's Trains, the Winnipeg Railfan, Jacko Beans, Jackboy317, and the Warrior Cats Train Enthusiast for subscribing to the Conductor tier. Your extra support helps make these railfanning trips possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.